Alright, how we doing? Thursday, September 8th, 2016. Rich Van Tassel with you, giving you the breakdown of the season opening game between the Panthers and the Denver Broncos. A lot to talk about in a game that was not very well played. Penalties weren't necessarily brutal. There were some calls that I thought were a little ticky-tack, but I'm saying as far as committing a lot of penalties in the game. But you expect these things early on in the season, first week of the season. First game, the sloppy plays, teams were having to take timeouts because they weren't getting players lined up, all these things. Turnovers were a big story in this game as well. Cam Newton was not great in this game, 18 of 33, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That interception we'll get into later, that was very big. Altogether, they rushed the ball 32 carries, 157 yards, just under 5 yards per carry. A little inflated because Tankett Jr. had a 20-yard run. Cam Newton, 11 of 54, 1 touchdown. Kelvin Benjamin, very good coming back. 6 receptions, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. Greg Olsen, of course, the security blanket, 7 for 73. Devin Funchess, we talked about that. It looked like Aqib Talib was on him, 1 catch for 9 yards. So they put him on Devin Funchess. A little surprise there. Shaq Thompson recovered a fumble. I was very impressed with James Bradbury in the secondary, replacing Josh Norman. Thomas Davis and Benny Benwickery had interceptions. Nothing really of note in the kick or punt return games, and of course the kicking, Graham Gano 2 for 3, and that field goal that he missed to lose the game. Trevor Siemian for the Broncos, his first career start. We talked about the rookie, or not the rookie, it is his second year, but never played in the game, never threw a pass, the 7th round pick. 18 of 26, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. They ran the ball very well, Denver did. 29 carries for 148 yards, over 5 yards per carry. It was also inflated because Andy Jankovich, their fullback, had a 28-yard run. C.J. Anderson, 20 of 92, and a touchdown. That Jankovich run was a touchdown. Very conservative in the receiving game. 5 receptions, 49 yards. Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, 4 for 48. C.J. Anderson, 4 for 47. You'd expect those numbers with a quarterback coming along like that in his first start. Devontae Booker fumbled. It was lost. Defensively, DeMarcus Ware, very good, 1.5 sacks. Von Miller had a sack, and Todd Davis had half a sack. They had 3 sacks total. Chris Harris had a big interception. We'll talk about that. And nothing in the kick return games or kicking games. Everything was a touchdown for the Denver Broncos, winning 21-20. I was really surprised at how Carolina did not come out. I would expect they'd come out with a lot more fervor in this game. They were sloppy, and a lot more sloppiness than I would even expect for a first week game. Both offensive lines were very dominant, as illustrated with the running game numbers that we showed. The defensive lines, while if Carolina has a weaker spot on their defense, it would be their defensive line. Denver's is pretty good, but both offensive lines were manhandling, and I don't think Carolina's offensive line is that good. I think Denver's is much better. So it didn't surprise me what was going on with Denver as far as how they were dominating Carolina on the offensive side of the ball. I was really surprised with how Carolina's offensive line was dominating Denver's defensive line. A couple bad calls, and we'll talk about the turnovers first. The Bronco turnovers, they happened in the red zone, which are usually killers. In this case, it wasn't it forced Carolina to drive, and they weren't able to capitalize. I don't think that Denver would get away with that in future games, obviously, because it was the sloppiness, I think, that affected it. Carolina turned the ball over in their side of the field. It was the interception, and it led to a big score in this game, which really affected it. So, as big as the turnovers were, you had 3 for the Broncos to only 1 for the Panthers. You don't win many games like that, and especially when you're turning the ball over in the red zone. But Denver was able to get away with it. As far as calls, actually, I wanted to make note of this too. There was a play. Carolina got it down inside. It was right around the 20. It was about 4.5 minutes left. Decided not to go for it on 4th down. They were down 21-17. It was about 4th and 8. Kicked a field goal to bring it to 21-20. Now, that's a 6-1, half dozen the other. In the past, I probably would have gone for it there. However, in today's NFL, the way teams are able to score, kicking the field goal is not that bad of an issue because you get it to one point, you have a chance to kick a field goal to win, which they did. And they ended up having a 4th and about 20, which they only converted on a hands to the face. I thought it was a bad call, but at least it was a hands to the face, not that ridiculous illegal contact. He did touch the face, but when I think of hands to the face, I think more when you're like, you got a guy like this. This was more he was grabbing him up high and was kind of, had his hand up there. So I thought it was a bad call. It advanced the drive. Carolina was able to get down. Another very questionable, I don't want to say call, but rule is there was an intentional grounding on Cam Newton that was nullified or offsetting because of a personal foul roughing the passer where he hit Cam Newton and had the defensive player. If you want to make these head injuries an issue, and I didn't think it should have been a penalty on the hit that was late to Cam Newton, but if you want to make these defensive penalties an issue, then you better not have offsetting in that situation. Denver has Indianapolis next week. Carolina, next week, not this Sunday, a week from Sunday it is, so they got some time to regroup. Both teams, obviously Carolina's going to have a bad taste in their mouth. They go to San Francisco. They'll look to get well with this one. Teams have got to clean up. Again, I'm surprised how Carolina did not come out as sharp, especially with something to prove, having lost the Super Bowl. And we're going to see if Denver will be able to get away with this in the future, turning the ball over. They certainly have to clean that up. All right, tomorrow or maybe Saturday, I'm not sure. We will do all the rest of the game picks, of course, for the Sunday's games. Then Monday we will do on Monday night. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Anything that breaks across the wire, we will give that to you. But hey, we're back in the NFL season, so be sure to subscribe as well. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your night.